first day of pretty much the rest of my years and the rest of my careers. So, as most of you may have remembered, when I grew up, I was one of those kids, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was like, I don't know what I want to do when I grew up. I also was not a big fan of school. Didn't like school, didn't want to go to college. I was like, I'll just work my whole life. So, when I was growing up, I was like, okay, I don't really know what I want to do. When I was younger, I switched every week. One day I'd want to be a teacher, one day I want to be a chef, one day I want to be a baker. Doesn't matter. So this all happened unbeknownst to me. I had no idea what happened. I want to say it was like a Friday night. I go to sleep. I had no intentions of what I'd wake up doing this morning. So I go to sleep. The entire night I'm dreaming. And this dream is very vivid. I'm dreaming of going to cosmetology school. So I woke up. That was such a vivid dream. It just stuck in me. It stuck in my mind. It would not go away. My grandmother and great-grandmother on my mom's side were cosmetologists. And then my grandmother on my father's side is cosmetologist. So it's sort of in my blood at this point. So I woke up, I grabbed my laptop, and I started looking up cosmetology schools. For those of you who do not know, cosmetology is the study of hair, skin, nails, and anything else. So your hairdresser, that's who I wanted to become. So I started looking up schools in my area. I'm in Roanoke, so I'm not that far from some of them. So one of the first ones that showed up was Paul Mitchell. And at this time, it was back behind a building. It was in one of these old shopping centers, is sort of where it was in. So I started looking up, I started doing some research. My father and my mom were still asleep. I was anxiously like, Grace, please wake up, please wake up, please wake up. I'm not going to wake them up because I don't sleep much, especially not my mom or my father at this point. So I'm like, okay. So then I start hearing my father. I'm like, oh, Father, he's up. So I let him come into the home office. He's starting to get some work. I'm like, I can't wait anymore. I go running into his office. I'm like, Dad. He's like, yeah. I'm like, can I talk to you about something? He's like, sure. So I'm like, I think I want to go to cosmetology school. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. At this point, it wasn't a thought in my mind at the beginning, before I went to sleep that night. I never brought it up. It just happened. So I'm like, okay. He looked it up on his computer. I'm like, this is what I'm thinking about. And he's like, okay. Let's wait for your mom to wake up and we can talk about this more. I'm like, okay. So I'm still in my head. I'm like, I really want. I'm like, Mom, wake up, wake up, wake up. So I then hear my mother wake up. I'm like, oh, Mom's up. I go running into her room. I'm like, hey, you up? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, I call my father. I'm like, Dad. And he comes running in. I'm like, hey, I really want to talk about this. So he's like, okay. I said, I really would like to go to cosmetology school. Don't really know what's going to happen, but I have a feeling this is what I'm supposed to do. So I set up a tour. I had to do it on a day that my father was off until all three of us could go. So I had to wait, I don't know, a couple months until I got my tour. I did the tour, and on this tour, the financial aid leader who I am now working with, Lisa, she introduced herself, I introduced my family and me, and we toured the building. So she also told us that they were planning on moving to Towers, which is a shopping center that's a lot bigger and a lot better. And I'm like, okay. So I toured, I did it was fantastic. I loved every second of it. She answered all my wonderful questions. I just, in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is what I want to do. So I still was in high school at the time. I was homeschooled, so I didn't have to go through everything. I didn't have to do SOLs. I didn't have to do all that. I just had to do standardized tests at the end of the year to make sure I could graduate. So I'm like, I'm still in high school, but I would really like to start. And she's like, okay, well, great. We have a start date July 16th, and that'll be in the new building. Like, you'll get to see it all. I'm like, okay, great. She's like, if you want, we can go ahead and start sending paperwork and get you set up, and we can get you in with financial aid and all that. I'm like, okay, fantastic. I am very fortunate that my parents were very smart, and they saved money aside for me and my brother for college. So I didn't have to do financial aid, thank goodness. Because otherwise I'd still be paying it. I don't want to do that. So we sign up. I'm giddy at this point. I'm like, I want to start. So I finished high school, and she calls up. I'm like, hey, we have the new building. It's ready to start. I'm like, oh, great. She called us in. I came for her tour. I came by myself this time. And I remember that first day of that tour in that new building. I was so excited. This building is beautiful. It has stations and bathrooms and so many beautiful things. And I just get so excited all over again. This tour of the new building was July 10th. I started July 16th. those 6 days were so exciting and nervous, and it was a lot going on. I remember the night before my first day of school, I'm sitting in my room trying to go to sleep. When I am excited about something, I don't go to sleep. It's really hard. So I wake up, I get dressed, and for this school, the dress code is all black. Literally all black, closed-toed shoes, no hats, no nothing. I'm like, okay, hair has to be done, makeup. And I'm like, great. I walk in, and I light up like a light bulb. I go through orientation. We go up to the front of the class and say, my name's Chloe, tell me a bit about myself. That first day is a little bit of a blurb because it was a whole lot of information all at once, and I got overwhelmed. So I started going. I went to school every day, Monday through Friday, or Tuesday through Saturday, and I just kept going every day. There were some challenges along the way, I will definitely admit that. I would have graduated a lot sooner if the whole world didn't explode with COVID. Yeah, I had to go through cosmetology school, which is mainly hands-on through COVID. So much fun. So we all closed. We had to go virtual. Oh man, I love virtual, but not that much. So the book work was easy on virtual. I could do that. Hands-on, that was real hard. Because I'm a hands-on person. I don't like watching things to the screen. And I can't focus on that much all at once. So I started falling behind. I started having to I was not doing as well as I should have. And so I'm like, okay, I went to my parents after they finally understood that I wasn't doing my work like I was supposed to. And I was like, okay, how do I get there? I'm like, I need help. And I'm like, okay. Both me and my parents sat in our living room, and I put my computer screen on the big screen TV in the living room. Me and my parents were in the living room watching these videos. My parents learned more about hair those months than I thought they ever would. My father knows more than I thought he ever would. And so I got through COVID. I graduated. I finally did my clock-out walkout, which is when I graduate. I got my cosmetology license. That took a long time, too. Took a couple tries. I got real down on myself. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I very much am glad I did not stop, and I kept going. In the back of my mind, I kept hearing my grandmother, who happens to be Grandma Patty, who was a cosmetologist. She was one of my biggest people in my life, and she helped me get through it, even not being here on the earth. So I finally graduated. I got my cosmetology license, and I was like, okay, salon, let's find one. Well, my real passion, and it still is to this day, was nails, not hair. But under the license of cosmetology, you can do hair, skin, nails, and makeup. So I'm like, okay, let's cover my bases and then go from there. So I started looking in salon jobs. I couldn't really find one that fit me well. So we were down in Michigan for some vacation time. I think it was my cousin's wedding, if I remember correctly. And on the way home, my father brings up nail school. I'm like, oh yeah, that would be smart. It would be exactly what I want to do. We started looking them up. There's one in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, I have a really good family friend that lives in Charlotte, and I was like, you know what? Let me reach out to her. Let me see. And she's like, yeah, I'll let you live with me for 9 weeks, I think was the course. And so I went down there, I lived with her, I finished nail school, graduated, came back. I tried getting some nail salon jobs. In our area, there weren't a lot of salon jobs that were not booth rental. Booth rental, when you were paying for that space. And so I ended up doing some booth rentals. They didn't work out. They just weren't where I needed to be. And this whole time, I kept going back to Paul Mitchell just to see everyone. I missed the people. I missed the environment. They became another family to me. And so I just kept coming back. Well, when I was still a student, my teacher kept saying, you should come back and be a teacher. I'm like, I don't know. So I finally went back one day, and she's like, Chloe, do you still think you'd be? I'm like, yeah, okay. So they were hiring for a receptionist. I'm like, okay, I'll apply. I've now almost been there a whole year. I started May 26th, and I am back in the place this whole journey started. I am a licensed cosmetologist working at the school I went to. As the receptionist, I am hoping to eventually become a learning leader, which is their form of teacher. But this whole thing started with that first tour, that first night. That first day of school, I never knew it would turn into this whole big thing, and now I don't know what is going to happen next, but I'm really looking forward to it, And it all started because that one first day of school.
Yeah.